We always like talking to this guy. He's fantastic. Former first-round pick of the Miami Heat, a mogul, Leroy, a media mogul, business mogul. He's got his hands all over the place. Now he's an Emmy. I saw you won an Emmy this week, Caron Butler. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's got to be pretty nuts. Like, what is it like? I mean, you've been to the heights of athletics, but is it cool to get something like that prestigious in another field like that when you're just like, wow, people recognize for producing and media and all that type of stuff? That's got to be pretty cool.
Man, it's an amazing honor. Thanks for bringing that up. Just being behind the lens and doing something different in your second act is something that, I always prided myself on, right? Because as athletes, our first phases in our careers, it's like we're so committed to this profession. And then you want to make the seamless transition into, your second act. Clearly family and faith is, priority first. But then you also want to occupy your time if you elect to do so. And I found something that I'm passionate about, that I care about, and I love doing is, telling stories. So just happy that it worked out so fast for me and I found my niche.
Yeah, well, congratulations again. Well, we're having you on because you have another documentary coming out. You did something with Udonis Haslem. So you got a little piece coming out, OG40. It's going to premiere Friday night on Players TV, which is on Samsung TV platform. You and Close Up 360 put this together. And I actually remember the day he did this with you, because I remember I was talking to him before Dwayne's jersey retirement ceremony, and he was excited for it to come out. So what was that day like, and what can people expect from this thing?
Wow. So like pre-quarantine and before the COVID thing hit, we was down in Miami, and I wanted to do this project on UD for a few specific reasons. One, because I think that when you identify someone that just been cut from a different cloth, that's been real and authentic, for a city and for its organization, and stand for the culture. I think that when you think of Miami Heat culture, you think about grit, you think about consistency, you think about, being true to it. UD is that. He's just that. And I think that he doesn't get enough credit, and I wanted to give a visual to the audience of how I felt about him personally. And, me and my partner, Jared, we got together, we went down there, we was in Overtown, we was in the Miami Heat facility, we went to some elected places that UD wanted us to visit. And we also saw the business component, we saw the workout component, and then we saw the community aspect of all the things that made him to who he is today. So it was just amazing to, bring that to light.
What was it like for him? I know he's beloved down here and all that, but what did you see with him that day as far as getting to go back, have the cameras on him, and reflect on some stuff?
Yeah, you know what? He was like, bro, I've never been this open. I've never pulled back the curtain of my life like this to just let people in. And, I'm glad it's you. You know what I mean? And it couldn't have been nobody else. I remember having that conversation with him, and he just saying that. And what made me so proud of him is just that, we have this thing that we envision when we come into first generational riches, first generation dreams that come true. And we want to inspire and do all these different things. And we don't know how it's going to land. We don't know how it's going to hit the minds of the undivided attention and all those things. But to actually see it come into fruition for him, it meant a lot. And I think that's one of the things that he was most proud of throughout this documentary.
What do you think people are going to learn about him that maybe they didn't know before? Because we know a lot, we talk to UD all the time, and we know that he keeps it real about the city, about his basketball, about the Heat. But what are we going to find out about him that, we're going to sit back and say, wow, I did not know that?
You know what? I think that when you talk about the family component and what really drove him to be the basketball player and the human being that you see before you today, I think he never went into the layers. And as far as my understanding, and I've known UD for over 20 years of my life, I've never seen him talk to that capacity of it. Mm-hmm. So he's going to pull back the layers and show you this is why I am who I am today. You know, going into depth of, you know, his mom, and God rest her soul, and talking about, you know, what that experience did, and being coached and mentored by his father at a young age, and, you know, the athletic ability in his family, you know, just the history of it. He's never talked about those things to these measures. So I think that a lot of people, the huge, you know, Miami Heat fans, the huge UD fans, are going to get a personal, in-depth look at, you know, his life from that component.
Did you get a chance to see the speech that he gave recently after what happened with George Floyd, and him, you know, get a chance to, I guess, speak to the city? What was your impressions of it?
Man, I thought it was powerful. I thought it was moving. Like, even with the More Than the Vote initiative that we're all partner up with LeBron James as well. I think that people don't understand, like, how connected we all are to our communities, and why it's important for us to, you know, maximize these platforms to speak on things that's, you know, really uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about. But I think that we take it upon ourselves as, you know, people in these positions, you know, that have large platforms to, you know, just give our perspective and to be light. And I love the fact that UD has always and never shied away from those moments. You know, people, you know, try to stand on the politically correct side of things without speaking up, and he's never been hesitant to do that.
We've been talking this week because of everything that's going on with the pandemic. There's one of the big things in sports right now is college football, and whether they should, be going on and stuff like that, or if a season should go on. And I guess just the idea of, some coaches have been saying, like, maybe it's better for these players to stay on campus because, you know, it could be dangerous with the disease anywhere. And some of these guys come from hard situations and stuff like that. What do you think from the standpoint of that? Like, the idea that players, even in the midst of a pandemic, may be better suited to be on campus just to kind of keep them on the path of their career, even if they don't know when seasons may continue and things like that.
I mean, if you can create a safe environment, you know, for the players to be on campus, I think that would be, you know, the thing to do. Like me, we battle with that as well right now. I'm a father of 5 kids, 4 girls, 1 son. And, you know, my son is at UC Irvine, and he's on campus now because he elected to be around his teammates. And, you know, my biggest thing was, you know, the safety protocols and making sure that they go about the proper measures. And it was hell to let him go back into that, you know, their bubble, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, him being here in quarantine for 5+ months was very important for me because I wanted to keep him as safe as possible. So I think about collegiate students, and you think about what the NBA has created with the bubble in Orlando. I think that should be adapted. And it may not be, you know, on campuses. It may be at an elected position or elected location. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I know a lot goes into it, and I know that they have the financial backing to create something to make it happen. But I just think that the safety of the players and the students need to be, you know, paramount and be first.
So, Caron, I told the story from my perspective. I grew up in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, right? So I grew up in, you know, a rough neighborhood. And when I went to Michigan, I didn't have anything. And so Michigan gave me structure, a place to stay, place to eat, school, place to study, all these things. Now you're telling me that because of the pandemic, somebody that was similar to my situation, we're going to tell you go home. See, that's going to put me in a worse situation than if I were to stay there. And I think a lot of times, you know, instead of coming up with a plan or listening to what these coaches are saying, who are going into these neighborhoods and who are going into these houses to see how some of these kids are living, they're coming from a place of reality where they know, you know, it may not be for everybody. You know, some people may come from an environment where they may be safer at home because they can quarantine a little bit better. Some of these kids, this is all they have. Yeah. So instead of trying to, you know, I think the word everybody uses is liability for the NCAA. You know, I always thought when I went to Michigan that I was going to be safe, that they were going to keep me safe. And I always expected that. And I think here you have kids coming from going to Alabama, going to Clemson, that have abilities that they're going there almost as a relief on life. Get me out of this situation. Let me grow. So I always wonder, I'm the guy that thinks, hey, some of these kids may be safer if they're on campus. They're going to be able to handle the pandemic if they're on campus.
Yeah, and I can see two sides to that coin. I understand your perspective because I come from that same background where, you in it, you feel like, I can be safer here. I can be more productive clearly here. But then on the flip side of that, you look at some of these universities, I forget what university it was, but the entire, pretty much football team tested
Clemson.
positive. Yeah,
it was Clemson.
So it's like you have those scenarios, and it's like, could I have been better off, at the crib, because I, dodging COVID. So it's just like, man, it's who has a pulse on this thing. It's so many unknowns, but if you can create a safe environment, I'm all for it, man.
Your kid's safe? You feel comfortable? Did you feel comfortable sending your kid up to school, or did you have questions when you sent him? Or did they reassure you?
All my questions, so we participated in a Zoom call just like this. And I was just going back and forth, just having a million questions. Like, all right, where he's going to be, how often is he going to be? Okay, how do you know those guys being responsible?
Right.
What are they having access to? What? Like, I had a lot of questions because, as we all know, kids do, things. They dip out, even in our household. So imagine still being under the restrictions of the university and their guidance, but still being able to move around. You just don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So those was my questions, and just making sure that they was around each other all the time. So, it wasn't, different essential people coming around them that can expose them to the virus. And so far, so good. Those guys are doing good. They're having access to, training and keeping themselves available. So if the opportunity presents itself where they can have a season, they'll be ready. But I still have my concerns. I'm still worried. I check in, 2-3 times a day. I'm still, offering guidelines and thoughts and, different things that I'm hearing from what the league are doing inside their bubble. But so far, so good on our end.
Good. That's good to hear.
Thank you.
But if we get a couple basketball things before we get you out of here, Caron, our Miami Heat, they're getting ready to get into the playoffs. We're excited about it. This season's been kind of unexpected as far as all these young guys along with Jimmy. It's been a lot of fun watching them. Between Bam flourishing into an all-star, Duncan Robinson coming out of nowhere. What's been your impressions of the Miami Heat? Has there been a favorite part of watching them that a certain style about them that you like the most?
You know what? So I'm gonna get to the players specifically, but what I'm impressed by most is Eric Spoelstra. His ability to adapt to the personnel, right? And I think that traditionally the Miami Heat have been known for the defense. The grit, they hang their hat on the defensive end of the floor. But now they're being known for their offense and their production, right? Yep. So you see what's happening with Jimmy Butler, and Dragic, and Bam, and the list goes on of guys that's just being able to flourish. Where Miami was traditionally known as a team that did those things but operated in the half court and hung their hat on the defensive end of the floor. So it's amazing to see that. And, bro, we're not going to get out of here without talking about T.J. Warren and Jimmy Butler, man. Just talking about how Jimmy just kind of dismantled the bubble MVP. Come on, man. Jimmy, my dog, man. Jimmy actually came and showed up. So big ups to Jimmy and the Miami Heat for being all in on the defensive side and slowing
He
him.
Looked so sad. He looked so sad. Yeah. He looked sad.
That interview was different, man. Jimmy came in there and then he posted a mood afterwards where he was talking. I was like, okay, Jimmy is in his bag right now.
I think that's what you do when when you think about the Heat, they have 4 or 5 guys that can lock down defensively, right? Yeah. Now they got 2. So you kind of have to evolve a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to expose a bunch of guys.
Yeah, man. And that's exactly what Espo has done, man. He's evolved. And I would say this, too. And people thought I was crazy, but I've seen Giannis have trouble with teams. But Bam is a hybrid, and he has a motor. And he's the only guy that I've seen, like, physically match Giannis' disposition and his impact of the game from an aggressive standpoint, where he's just there with him, he's stopping him, don't need too much help. And I said, you know what, Miami and Milwaukee, if whatever lined up and, you know, they was able to match up on the quest for, you know, the Eastern Conference push, that would not be an easy out for Milwaukee because, you know, Miami does an excellent job at playing against them.
If you're the Lakers, are you scared of Portland?
Hell yeah.
Crazy.
I am.
With no home field, no home court advantage?
Bro, you know, they usually they say you have a guy that can score anywhere from 30 to 40 points. They have a guy that can score anywhere from 30 to 70.
Wow.
Right.
And then you talk about that backcourt with CJ. Carmelo still got another push in him. And Nurkic, I'm telling you, I did not think that he was going to come back playing this way in shape. But the reports were saying that he was ready. He was just on the cups of coming back in March. And then fast forward, you give him another 5 months to get his legs all the way under him. That's what you're seeing. Like, he's looking like an all-star caliber player again.
I want you guys to check out OG40. It's coming out Friday night, 8 o'clock, Players TV, Samsung TV platform. Caron Butler produced it with Close Up 360. It sounds like it's going to be awesome for Heat fans, all NBA fans in general. Caron, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
And thank you guys
for
allowing me to share this platform. Appreciate you.
All right.